Marcus North, former Australian Test cricketer, former Ashes player, and now potentially England's most powerful selector. Yes, England are about to appoint an Australian as national selector for the first time ever. And honestly, the more you think about it, the more it starts to make sense. At first glance, it feels bizarre. England fans hearing the words Australian selectors probably triggers some kind of deep ancestral trauma. We've spent 140 years accusing Australians of being the enemy, and now we're handing one of them the keys to the selection meetings. It's like Batman hiring the Joker as head of security at Wayne Manor. But actually, Marcus North is probably one of the least Australian Australians England could have appointed. This is not some parachuted in outsider who's watched 2 clips of county cricket on YouTube and decided Emilio Gay looks a bit promising. Marcus North has basically lived inside English domestic cricket for years. He played county cricket for 6 different counties. 6. Durham, Lancashire, Derbyshire, Gloucestershire, Hampshire, and Glamorgan. At one point, Marcus North was basically completing counties like Pokemon cards. And since 2018, he's been Durham's Director of Cricket, which is important and significant because Durham are not just any English county. Durham produce England cricketers like no man's business. Ben Stokes, Mark Wood, Bryden Carse, Ben Rain hovering around conversations, now Ben McKinney, now Emilio Gay. Durham are one of the best talent pipelines in the country, and North has been right in the middle of that. So yes, he's Australian, but in cricketing terms, he's deeply embedded in the English game. And crucially, he's deeply embedded in this England regime. That's the key thing. He's close with Ben Stokes. He's worked with Stokes at Durham, worked with him at the Northern Superchargers in the 100. He's worked closely with Harry Brook, appointed Andrew Flintoff as the Superchargers coach. This isn't England hiring an outsider. This is England promoting somebody already inside the ecosystem. And that is important because Rob Key and Brendan McCullum, England selection has become less traditional than ever under those guys. This is not the old ECB Blazer Brigade anymore. England don't just pick the bloke averaging 58 in Division 2 because that's how it's always been done. Sometimes they'll pick someone averaging 34 because they think he has the right mentality. Sometimes they'll ignore county stats altogether. Sometimes they'll pick a guy because he reverse scooped Pat Cummins in a Lions game once and Stokes liked the vibe. And honestly, that approach has worked at times. Go back and look at my video about Bazball. It will tell you all about it. England under Stokes and McCullum have played some brilliant cricket, but after losing the Ashes 4-1 in Australia this winter, there has clearly been some reflection, much needed reflection, because one of the biggest criticisms of this England regime is that they've drifted too far away from county cricket. County fans have been screaming about it for years now. What is the point of county cricket if you don't pick county players? And occasionally, fair point. You can't keep asking counties to produce players and then ignore the championship entirely, especially when England's batting in Australia looked like a group project that nobody prepared for. So this appointment feels significant because Marcus North knows county cricket intimately, not theoretically, actually. He watches it, works in it, lives in it. One of his big responsibilities will be working closely with the ECB's new County Insight Group, which is basically England management finally admitting, maybe we should speak to the counties occasionally. Maybe we should just have a little chat. Revolutionary stuff. And honestly, that might be the best part of this appointment. Balance. Not a complete rejection of Bazball-era thinking, but balance. Because England do still need selectors willing to look beyond pure averages. Ben Stokes himself is proof of that. But equally, if a guy is averaging 95 after 5 rounds of the championships, perhaps we shouldn't behave like he's invisible. And yes, that brings us neatly into the interesting bit, potentially very interesting, because Marcus North has worked closely with 2 players already heavily linked with England call-ups this summer, Ben McKinney and Emilio Gay. Now, I'm going to be very, very careful here. This doesn't mean he's just going to pick Durham players. That's too simple. England selection, it shouldn't work like a Sunday League WhatsApp group, but human beings naturally trust players that they know. And Marcus North knows these 2 players very, very well. He's watched them develop up close, and right now, their timing is excellent. Emilio Gay has been one of the standout batters in Division 2 this season. Ben McKinney is viewed as one of England's best young batting prospects. He hits the ball a long way. James Rue at Somerset is another name strongly in that conversation, and England need batting solutions, especially in the opening slot. Because, let's be honest, Zach Crawley, love creepy. He continues to be one of the most divisive men in English cricket. At this point, discussions about Crawley feel less like cricket analysis and more like Brexit arguments. And that's not a good thing. Nobody changes their mind anymore. England are expected to discuss a new opening option for the New Zealand series that begins at Lord's in June. So Marcus North's first selection meeting could already be hugely important and influential. And that brings me to the one part of this story that does feel strange. Timing. Why has it taken this long? Luke Wright stepped down after the Ashes. We're now into the second week of May. We've had 5 rounds of county championship cricket already. 5. We're practically at the stage where half the county bowlers, well, the country's bowlers, I should say, have already broken down for the season. And now only England are finally, or I should say, now only, after all this time, England are finalising their selector. I mean, Michael Vaughan talked about it on the Stick to Cricket podcast. What is taking so long? This feels late, especially if England genuinely wanted stronger county engagement, because the championship season started weeks ago. The evidence has already been piling up. We've already seen James Root making mountains of runs, Emilio Gay exploding into contention, Ben Slater having a superb start, Dom Sibley doing Dom Sibley things, Ben Sanderson bowling brilliantly, Kieran Carlson making a double hundred. This is the exact period selectors should be deeply immersed in county cricket, not still sorting out HR paperwork. Now, maybe the ECB would argue, Rob Key, Brendan McCullum and the scouting departments were still doing that work anyway, and fair enough, maybe they were. But the optics still feel a little bit odd, especially after such a poor Ashes series and a poorly received Ashes series, because after losing 4-1 in Australia, England really needed to show that they were reassessing things quickly. And yet here we are in May, still finalising the appointment. Still, better late than never, I guess. And overall, I actually think this is a smart appointment because Marcus North ticks a lot of boxes. County knowledge, modern administration, strong relationships, experience with pathways, data and analytics understanding, long-term involvement in English cricket, and perhaps, most importantly, he doesn't feel ideological. That might seem weird, but it matters. England's selection in recent years has occasionally felt almost religious, like players are Bazball approved and others aren't. But North feels more pragmatic, more grounded in the actual county game. And after the Australia tour, England probably need a little bit more grounding. Also, let's be honest, there's something wonderfully chaotic about England appointing an Australian selector before an Ashes summer. It's just brilliant, isn't it? Only English cricket could do this. It's beautifully on brand. But if the appointment works, nobody will care where he was born. Nobody will care where he was from or who he played for in Test cricket, because ultimately selectors are judged on one thing. Do they pick good teams? And Marcus North is walking into a fascinating moment. England need a possible new opener, more batting depth, spin options, seam bowling support behind the big names, better links with county cricket, and potentially a partial reset after Australia. That is a serious in-tray. But honestly, if England wanted somebody who understands both modern elite cricket and the county game, Marcus North is a pretty logical choice. Even if hearing the sentence, Australian appointed England selector, still feels like cricketing fan fiction. And who knows, maybe in a few years we'll look back and say, this was the moment England finally reconnected with county cricket properly. Or maybe Zach Crawley still averages 31 and everybody argues on Twitter forever. Honestly, both feel equally possible at this point. And before we finish, little reminder, if you've been enjoying the County Championship this season, I do weekly County Championship reviews on this channel covering all the big stories, the big performances, and the table shifts from both divisions. So check those out as well, because unlike England's selectors sometimes, we've actually been watching the County Championship since April. Just kidding, just joke. Not a personal jab. Thanks so much for watching this video. Remember to give it a like, subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this, and I will see you soon.